up. Come on, let's see those jazz hands. We are live. Come on, Walter, jazz it up, baby. Oh, look at that. Walter's getting real jazzy with it. Okay, we are live. We are live. I hope you got your Friday big girl panties on. Those are the special ones. Those are the special fur-lined Friday panties. Because it's on tonight. It's on tonight. We might have a special guest here, so please, everyone, smash those thumbs.
Thank you.
Share this video, Walter. Yeah, you are special, but you're the other kind of special.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, you're both specials, Walter.
Here we go. Here we go. That's right.
Here's that. Oh,
there we go.
Oh, is that using Spencer's move on me? This is episode 327 of the Who Moved My Freedom podcast. Our subject tonight: Democratic president. Will a Democratic president use the national emergency for gun control? Is that possible? Can it happen? Nancy Pelosi says, "Oh, if Trump does national emergency to pay for the wall, then it's also possible that a president in the future." A Democrat, obviously, a liberal, commie, socialist, could use that. So we're going to have that discussion, as well as the fact that Trump says he's going to declare a national emergency. Did you see that, Walter?
He already did.
He says he's going to do it. So he had a speech. He says he's going to do it. Then I think the Dems are going to go sue him.
Oh, it's going to go all kinds of different.
Try to block it. Yeah. So it's not all immediate.
Everybody who don't know, the Dems are the one who actually made this national emergency thing.
Right.
Back in the 75 or 76, because they thought they were going to be in power forever after Nixon, and then there was a person called Jimmy Carter, and that kind of took care of that dream real quick. So yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, and then I think like someone saying it in the chat that Nevada, they just signed, what was it, a background check or something like that. Just got signed in Nevada. So, yeah, lots of different things going on here. So we're going to talk about all that stuff. Hope you guys get settled in. Like I said, please do smash the thumbs, share this. If you're not subscribed to the Lifestyles of the Locked and Loaded, that's what channel this is on. Please do subscribe, ring the bell. Very, very important so you can catch all these podcasts as we go live, even if you're watching it later, because it stays up on YouTube, and then you guys can play it to your heart's content. Yes, you can play it forever. Plus, we rip out audio, and that goes up on iTunes and a whole bunch of other places that you can get iTunes. And people listen to that all over the world. Somebody just look at that guy, right? Oh, he's doing jazz hands too. I don't recognize this guy. I don't know.
Hey, what's up, man?
Some old guy came on.
All I got to do is get rid of this, man, and I'll look 10 years younger.
Yeah. Yeah, let me see. I'm going to try to bump up your audio a little bit. Yeah, so this is Military Arms channel.
I got the earbuds on, so hopefully everything's good. They work everywhere else, man.
Yeah. So what's up? What's going on with you?
Oh, man, just, busy. I was just down in Florida. Got to meet up with you. And is it okay if I tell everybody what you did for Jason?
Sure. Absolutely. So, Jason's a good guy.
So Jason, the cameraman, is a big car guy, and I am too. But I had to get rid of my hot rod.
I know it was really powerful too.
This big, filthy rich YouTuber. I had to sell my hot rod. Anyway, so I'm a former car guy. I hope to be one again before I die of old age. But Jason, just got his new Camaro and everything. But he has always been envious of that beautiful car of yours, and. Hank and Jason left the hotel room. I figured Jason was just going to go down and check out the car. And Hank let Jason drive the car.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He drove it too.
Does everybody know what the car is?
You can tell them. Okay. I think some people know.
Okay. It's an Audi R8. It's a true supercar.
Yeah. V10 plus.
Yeah.
So it's over 600 horsepower.
I've seen him in pictures. I should have downstairs and I could have driven the car and Jason could have just stood on the curb and watched. No, I mean, that made the whole trip. And see, we went down there. Not only right after that, dude. I think that was Jason's luckiest weekend.
Really?
He got to drive the R8, and then we went out and we did some pig hunting, and I capped this huge boar. Right, I'm like gloating. I nailed this massive boar. And I said, Jason, I'm done, man. I've had a blast. he gets to film me having all the fun all the time, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it's a tough job.
Brother, here's my helmet, here's my nods, you know, the thermal equipped rifle, go pop a pig and have a good time. He steps out of the cart, takes a knee, pow, drops the biggest boar that's ever been harvested in a freaking farm, and it has cutters that are this big. And if you don't know anything about boars, wild boars, that is freaking ginormous. And
what's the cutter, like the tusk or something?
Yeah,
yeah. So they have wetters and cutters. The wetters are the top teeth that curl up, and then the cutters are the ones that kind of curl back. So like when people do cartoons, like the new black collar pork sword, have you seen that?
No.
All over the Instagram. It's a new company started up by Jeremy from T-Tag. Anyway, so but like he has a cartoonish pig, and they always, you know, exaggerate how big the cutters are.
Right.
Anyway, so it had these cartoonishly large cutters, but the pig was like 8 or 9 years old, and its wetters, the smaller teeth on top, had fallen off. But usually they're nasty mean, and they hunt you too. Depending on where. They're saying that they're not as aggressive down in Florida, but I'm used to hunting them in Texas, where they'll come around and hunt you too. So it's kind of a two-way hunt. But anyway, they'll snap those teeth together as a threatening gesture, but also presumably it sharpens the cutters. And I've seen them gore dogs and all sorts of stuff, man. They can be pretty nasty animals, especially when they're over 200 pounds, and this thing was.
Wow.
Anyway, yeah, that was fun, man. Down in your home state, what a blast, man.
So this is the important question. When Jason dropped that thing, did you, because you gave him your equipment, did you properly handle the camera and get footage of that?
I did, and he did not properly handle the thermal, so we didn't get gun sight camera footage, but me, I'm in charge of the camera, and I did get video of him taking the shot, but
sweet.
He didn't reset, and he didn't know. It's not his fault. I should have actually reset the thermal. The thermal, we use Pulsar XP50s.
Okay.
And, actually, Copper sells them, and so we took a couple from the store, and he didn't know, because he's not as familiar with it as I am, to reset the shot detection. So after you fire a shot, it detects the recoil, and then it's constantly looping. It saves the last 15 seconds and then continues recording on until you tell it to stop. I just didn't reset it. So I take the blame for that one.
Okay. But that's awesome though, man. Jason's a good guy, by the way. Congratulations on finding like a cool dude to work with and help you keep the videos going. Cause I know people out there, man, you know, they need these videos from you.
I don't know how much they need them. But Jason, you know, what's funny is Jason's been with the channel for 5 years. So he just came on board. So because of our Patreon support, you know, we're able to bring him on, and he used to be a nurse and he hated his life, man. You probably couldn't tell from meeting him, but he's not a real people person. He's kind of shy and, you know, just wants to be alone, you know, which is kind of funny about a lot of social media folks, right?
Yeah.
It's not like if I go into a crowded room, I am not the life of the party. I'm the guy sitting in the corner talking to nobody, right?
Yeah.
Same kind of guy.
Yeah, I'm very introverted, in case you know that. I'm very introverted.
I mean, most social media people are. I mean, one of the craziest things, I totally lost sight of what we were originally talking about, by the way. But one of the guys that a lot of people will know, say Matt Best from Black Rifle Coffee Company.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's like this funny, outgoing, really crazy dude on camera. When you meet Matt, he's the most reserved person you would ever meet.
How can a dude? I mean, I've seen Matt put on high heels and stockings. Yeah, but yeah, I believe it. I believe it. I believe it.
He's just like, hey, what's up, man? You know,
yeah,
not that crazy rowdy like what you would imagine him to be. And that's what's kind of funny about, you know, social media folks. I don't know where I was going with Jason. What were we out there? Oh, he's been with us for 5 years, and we finally got him to be able to come over and be a full-time cameraman. And so he donated over 4 years of his time working as a nurse, and then when he wasn't working, volunteering time to be the cameraman at Mac. And so we've been friends for a long time. And
cool. I've never met him before, though. I think that's the first time I met him.
Yeah, and he says the first time he met you. And
yeah, I think I called him something else. I couldn't remember what his name was. I can't remember what I called him.
I forget his name and say, hey, you sometimes.
Yeah, I called him Jack or something, whatever. After he
make up a different name every other time you meet him. Like,
yeah.
Hey, what's up, Jake? What's up, Jack? What's up?
No, he's a good guy. It's always good to meet car guys. I think just like gun guys like to share their guns, you know, there's car guys out there that like to share their cars. These are material things. You know, I enjoy sharing things with people. So I'm happy that he, you know, that was a good thing for him.
That was huge. I can't believe you let him drive it. He came back. I mean, you don't see Jason like grinning to the point where it looks like his face hurts.
Mm-hmm.
He was.
Oh, okay.
Wait, like, dude, I drove an R8.
Yeah.
If nothing else happens, this is the best trip ever.
Awesome. Until someone lets him drive a Ferrari or Lamborghini or something like that.
I don't think it'll change anything.
Yeah.
He has a thing for the R8. He's talked about it before.
So
okay. What are you talking about tonight? Well,
first of all, have you ever met Walter from Safety Harbor Farm?
Oh, yeah, we met. Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Good. Just wanted to make sure of that. This is Mac Military Arms Channel. I call him Mac.
Everybody calls me Mac. My family Mac at this point.
Yeah, I mean that's that's the best thing in the world. Yeah. So go ahead.
No, go ahead, man.
Yeah, I was saying we've got a whole bunch of people out there, so shout outs. Everyone's shouting you out right now. I know there's a few people that said you're a little quiet. I turned your microphone up as much as I could, so hopefully people.
I'm using an iPad, so I don't know if I have any controls here.
I don't know, but I think if folks out there can let us know. We were talking about how Nancy Pelosi, I think yesterday. So, I think Sam from Forge from Freedom said that you posted something about. Nancy Pelosi said that Democrats could also use the national emergency to create gun control.
Yep. What a dumb thing to say.
Yeah.
No, they can't.
Yeah, they could. Yeah. They can't, but they will try.
Yeah, they can. But I'm pretty sure the Secret Service right now is working overtime with all the threats she's probably receiving for having said that. There's plenty of people out there that take that deadly serious, and probably were calling her office like, if you do that, we'll lynch you. And then of course the Secret Service is now involved. So I'm pretty sure she realized the folly of her stupidity.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Walter. I think
no, it's tit for tat now. It's like, well, you say this, I'm going to say that. You say this, I'm going to say that. It's like, it's like grade school.
Yeah.
Yeah. How can she put together the Trump building a wall, right, and border security with gun control? Those are completely different things. There's guns are in the Second Amendment.
Just all you gotta do is just say her Fast and Furious.
Fast and Furious.
Fast and Furious, baby. Yeah. Fast and Furious.
Right. Did we lose Mac? I know we lost his camera.
No, sorry, man.
Oh.
I'm trying to adjust my audio settings.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I don't know how she puts those two together. It's really ridiculous. But and they could try it. And I also think this. I think that one of the problems that we're having now, you and I have talked about it before. I think it's probably been some time since we did like a live show, but we talk about this. People are asleep right now. A lot of gun guys in America are asleep. A lot of people who say they believe in the Second Amendment, all that stuff, they're sleeping. They're not really super worried because Trump's in the White House. Something needs to happen to wake people up, though. So did he freeze? Is he frozen? He looks frozen.
I don't know.
Yeah. He's messing around with everything. We probably get him back here in a second. Yeah. L228 says, how we the people declare national emergency on dumb politicians. Okay, looks like Mac is going to drop out and then try to come back in. Bragmo says, if a Democratic president did do that, would it eventually benefit the 2A?
No, what'll happen? There'll be a revolution.
Yeah, that's probably what would happen.
If you want to see something that's going to cause all hell to break loose,
there we go.
That'll be it.
Yeah, call a national emergency and say that we're taking your guns from you. Okay.
Watch what happens. Watch what happens.
Yeah.
Is audio better now?
Yeah. Are you hearing Mac any louder out there?
Any better, Walter?
Yeah.
Am I doing any better?
It's about the same. I was hearing you fine before, though. So.
Yeah, I'm hearing you fine. I don't know if people still have problems. It looks like people can hear you. Don't worry about it. Turn up the volume on your thing for crying. His beard is getting in the way. It's like a muffler now for. Yeah, it's like a suppressor for his mouth, which is probably I don't know, probably a good thing.
Yeah, I know, right? Because there's a reason why I don't do a whole lot of live streams. It's because I tend to get riled up, and then I start saying things I should probably edit out.
Oh, hold on. Okay, there we go. I think I just dialed it down. Okay, you should be good now. I just dialed you up a little bit so people can hear you a little bit louder. So I dialed you up on my end. Yeah. So what do you think? So we were just talking about what would really happen in America if let's say a Democrat got in the White House, the pendulum swings back and forward, and they tried that, what do you think would happen?
I think there'd be pockets of resistance. If I mean, it depends on what you say, what they do. So if they declare a national emergency and for gun violence, which is stupid to say because guns are incapable of violence, they're inanimate objects, but we'll call it gun violence because that's what they want to call it. So they want to declare a national emergency for gun violence. Well, what are they going to do? Are they going to go around and kick in everybody's door and confiscate firearms? Well, you've just started the Second American Civil War.
Yes,
I mean,
you have.
That will go over like a turd in a punch bowl. I can't see.
There will be some law enforcement types that will do that, but most of them will realize that they'll lose in the end. Because there's a drastically small number of law enforcement versus armed civilians.
And I'll tell you right now, I mean, I'm friends with a lot of local police from several different jurisdictions. And of course, you guys know I have a gun store too, and they buy from us all the time. And I'm going to tell you right now, I would say the vast majority of the police officers that I interact with are staunch constitutionalists, and they stand with us.
Right.
So there'll be a lot of guys that literally won't show up for work.
But
I know if I wore a badge and they said, hey, today we're going to go in and kick in these doors, and under what cause? Well, there's been a national emergency declared. No, thank you. I'm going home with my family.
Your life would, I'm not saying, I won't say it positively, but your odds of dying would substantially increase if they started doing that. Because
I
eventually
just hope it doesn't come to that, because honestly, and what's really disturbing to me is, like, I made a post about it on Instagram. A lot of guys are like, yeah, let's just kick this off. Let's do it. I'm anxious for a civil war.
Oh man.
And people that say that, I don't think truly understand at all levels how awful that really is.
Right.
Your next door neighbor that you used to have hot dogs with and, watch football with, may be on the opposite side of the argument, and now you're trying to kill each other. Your children may get killed. Your house may be burned. And it's not a pretty thing. And at the end of the day, there's no guarantee that we'll even have a constitution at the end of the whole thing. It could be destroyed. The wrong people could gain power through military coup or whatever.
Right,
it's not something you hope for. It's something you try to avoid.
Yeah. Also, people think it's easy to look down sights and pull the trigger on a human being. It's not as easy as it is with bravado, or because you look at a lot of movies, you think it is.
That's true.
Something really serious.
I think a lot of the folks that say they're itching for a civil war probably have never experienced war. And I think that on the other side of the coin, though, we've been at war for 15 years, and we have an awful lot of military veterans, and most of which I assume are on our side of the argument. And they're not, they don't get rattled when they get shot at, and looking down those sights they've already done. So, all these things need to be taken into account when you start talking about things like civil war, and it needs to be avoided. Take a look at, like, my home state of Kansas, for example. When I lived there, no NFA items, no short barrel shotguns, no machine guns, no silencers, no concealed carry. Here we are, and that would have been in the mid 1980s. Fast forward to 2019. They're a constitutional carry state. They have NFA items. You know what I mean? So we're seeing more and more states passing constitutional carry. We're seeing all 50 states now have some sort of carry, where 20 years ago, a fraction of the states did. So we can affect change through the system. We have to be patient, and we can't constantly threaten violence. But that's not to say there isn't a time for violence. And that's why the Second Amendment was put into place. And if you take a look at the Bundy Ranch, when the government overstepped its authority and threatened, the Second Amendment was invoked. Americans said, nope, we're drawing the line right here. Patriots streamed down there, and there was a standoff, and the government rightly backed down, and that was the end of it. And that is a perfect example, a modern example of the Second Amendment serving its intended purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's some kind of crazy irony going on that that Trump wants to do something to secure the border, right? We definitely have a border issue. We were talking about that, when you dropped out and came back in, and there's people that are being killed. There's drugs, all kinds of fentanyl. There was so much fentanyl that came in. What was it, Walter? I think it could kill. I think it was millions of people that this fentanyl could. There's all this stuff going on, and then Nancy Pelosi says, "Yeah, that thing is equal to this thing." You know, how does that happen? How
a
come that?
constitutionally protected right is the same thing as illegal drugs and
Yeah.
illegal immigration and crime that crosses the border? No, not the same thing. So
No.
her saying if you want to declare a national emergency to stop, an influx of human trafficking and drugs and all the other stuff that comes across our southern borders. I've been to the southern states. I've been to those border towns inside what I call the DMZ, where you have an area where there's checkpoints that you have to go through, and they're looking for drugs and human trafficking and illegal immigrants. There's people down there. They tell you carry a gun because crime is ridiculous here because of all the illegal immigration going on. So it is a problem, and that's, like you said, it's a completely different issue than people exercising their constitutionally protected rights. So,
yeah, absolutely. And it's something that we need to do something about. I think, me personally, I think more than building a wall, there's a lot of things that we need to do with immigration to just make that one line. There's a whole bunch of different immigration lines. There's all kinds of crazy stuff going on. But I don't think we can compare that to the other things. If you look at the amount of kids that are aborted every year in America, that's more of a national emergency. Then obviously there's horrible
you just opened a can of worms.
Yeah, I know there's some people who don't want to hear about that, regardless of where you think about it, though. That happens. That's us doing, that's mothers doing that to their own potential babies. And then we have situations now where they're like, that baby could be born and you could still abort them.
Yeah.
So
well, I
think they're completely different things
that aren't firearms related. But I agree. There's so much hypocrisy on the other side of the aisle. Now, when I say the other side of the aisle, I'm neither Republican or Democrat. I hate them both equally because Republicans have done more damage to my Second Amendment rights that I love so much than the Democrats have. And it's not for a lack of trying on the Democrats' part, mind you. It's just that gun owners go to sleep when there's a Republican in office and pretend like that Republican's going to protect their rights. And every single time that Republican screws us, Bush 41 did, President Reagan did, Trump did. But when a Democrat's
we got
in
that
office,
yesterday,
owners,
man.
Yeah. Well, when a Democrat's in office, though, gun owners spring to life and they have rallies and they protest and they write letters. But, both parties, neither one of them are friends. They're both drunk on power. They will do anything they have to keep power. Every single one of them lies on the campaign trail. And I'm sick of it. I despise politicians more than any other creature on the planet.
Yeah. So here's something that I put up yesterday. I'm sure you saw this because it was all over the news, right? 5 Republicans are joining with Pelosi to promote a national gun registry. Peter King from New York, Brian Fitzpatrick from Pennsylvania, Fred Upton, Michigan, Chris Smith, New Jersey, and Brian Mast, Florida. Republicans. Gun
I know
registry.
the Republicans. Look what happened after Vegas. It was right there in Florida. The Carbello, he introduced a bump stock ban bill, and he was a Florida Republican. And of course, he didn't win re-election. I wonder why.
Yeah, we need more of those people should not win re-election. And actually, there's someone trying to push forward a bill to overturn that gun control bill that we have here in Florida, but it's not really getting any traction. We have to keep, and there's Republicans blocking it.
Yeah, and here's the sad thing about Florida, man. I never thought I'd see the day where the gunshine state turned to what it's turning to, where it's passing anti-gun laws, because keep in mind, in the 80s and the early 90s, Florida led the way in what was considered a radical idea in issuing permits to anybody that applied. It became a shall issue state.
It was going to be the Wild West.
Yep, that's what they said. But Florida was dealing with an insanely high violent crime rate, and they tried everything. And then finally they said, well, let's do something completely crazy. Let's give citizens guns. Let's let them exercise their Second Amendment rights. Let's give them concealed carry. And boom, overnight, the crime statistics plummeted. And all the other states looked at that and said, let's give that a try. And in every single instance, it lowered crime in that state where concealed carry was passed. So at one point, Florida led the way in the preservation of our Second Amendment rights and the promotion of our Second Amendment rights. And now here we are in 2019. And Florida's passing anti-gun bill after anti-gun bill. But keep in mind, Florida has something that's attracting the anti-gunners and the socialists and the communists from places like New York and California. You know what that is?
Warm weather.
Warm
Less
weather
taxes.
and less taxes, no income tax. And the irony of that, they're all flocking there to retire, and they're bringing their far left socialist communist ideas with them. And the irony in that is that the states they're fleeing, they voted for those high taxes. They wanted them. They thought that was a solution. Then they flee the state, go to Florida, and they vote the crap right back in and screw Florida up.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, that's what most of them do. Some of them do. Like, I'm a transplant from New Jersey, and before that we were in New York. But I came to Florida because I was able to have gun rights here.
Right.
And I think there are a lot of people like that out there. Maybe they're caught up in things, but they need to wake up and actually start voting before you lose that. That's what created the problems in all the places that you're trying to get away from.
Yeah. Well,
that's what's going on in those places.
I mean, how many emails do you get? I mean, this is kind of a rhetorical question, but how many emails do you get a month where somebody says, "Hey, Hank, can you talk about this bill that's in my state that's up, for a vote? Can you say something and help us out?" And I get those types of emails regularly, and I tell folks, it's like, man, I can't keep track of what's going on in all 50 states. It's hard enough for me to keep track of what's going on at the federal level and the Indiana level where I live. I have a hard time. So what I recommend to people is, like, don't necessarily look to us to be, the cheerleaders for all these, defensive measures at the state level, because otherwise, our channels would become strictly political channels.
Yeah.
You have to step up and organize yourself. You have to join local state organizations, and it's education, man. You have to get into, into politics and get other people into politics and hold rallies and go to schools and talk to the principals and stuff. Like here in Indiana, we've been working with a national group, but with our local schools to get sporting clays and skeet shooting introduced into the curriculum. And it's actually working. And that's us starting to bring back our culture and traditions to our schools, because for the last couple of decades, when I grew up, we had a firing range in my high school. It was shut down. I think they shut it down in the late 60s. But there was a time when marksmanship was actually taught at school, and then it became taboo, and now it's really taboo, but it shouldn't be. If you ask me, it's highly irresponsible for a school not to teach basic firearm safety to students, because there are more guns in this country than there are people. They'll teach you how to put a condom on a banana in the 8th grade, but they won't teach you how to safely clear a firearm or what to do if you encounter a firearm, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's total insanity.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, listen, I'm just going to do this. Someone's asking me to get you to put the other earpiece in to see if that makes the audio use both of them. Oh, you have both of them in, right? Okay. Yeah. So there you go. He has both of them in for anyone who's wondering about that. Yeah. I think that if we did teach, if it's just like here in Florida, I think if you're anywhere where there's water, a lot of water, you need to teach the kids how to swim, right? Because they're highly likely to come across water. You don't want them to drown. People have pools, all that kind of stuff. I think it's the same thing with guns. People think, oh, that's going to make all these kids, all they're going to be about is guns. It's going to make them do more stuff. No, it's going to, one, make them realize how dangerous and destructive they are and what to do to safely deal with those things. And how to avoid those things. If they see someone's messing around with something, you've got to teach people about things. It's what we're doing with driving, sex education, and all those things. We have to do it when it comes to guns. There's no way to avoid it.
Right. It needs to be part of the classroom curriculum. It needs to start at least at the high school level and bring in, certified instructors to teach basic firearm safety. And that's a win-win on twofold. First of all, it serves a purpose. It gets children educated, so it reduces the number of accidental deaths. And secondly, it continues the tradition of, firearms ownership, which is a very important tradition for Americans.
Yeah, it's incredibly important, man. I don't think there's certain people like Lola's brother is in Maryland, and he came to visit us. He knows what I do. He's watched the videos. He tells me that he's got friends that are into guns and stuff like that. And I was trying to show him a gun. And the first thing I wanted to show him is how to make that gun an inert object, right? So how to clear it, make sure it's safe. That's what I was trying to show him. He did not want to see that. Like the idea, he couldn't touch it. He was so brainwashed. oh my God, I don't want to touch it. So then I just like, okay, fine. I backed off because there's so much programming inside of him that he just thinks that if he touches that thing, it's going to explode and kill him and do whatever it is. And that's one of the biggest problems that we have when it comes to guns.
That you're absolutely right, man. You struck a chord there, because people fear what they don't understand, right? People fear things that they have no experience with. If you talk to, you know, somebody that handles dangerous venomous snakes for a hobby, right? If you put a rattlesnake in front of me, I'm going to kill it. That's my first reaction. It's like, I'm scared of the thing. I'm going to dispatch it. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
I probably would scream like a girl and run away.
Run away. Right. But you get somebody that's experienced with those snakes, right? That does it for a hobby or professionally at a zoo or something. And they're going to say, no, look, just grab it by the tail, drag it out. It can't possibly bite you. Press its head down with a stick. Right. There's a rational way to deal with it.
Yeah.
The same thing with the firearm. Everybody is programmed by the mainstream media to think that they're these death machines and they're just going to kill everything in the room and you should never touch one. When in reality, if you take somebody out that's never fired a gun before and they fire it, I have never, ever, ever had somebody shoot a gun for the first time in my presence and go, oh my God, that sucked. They smile from ear to ear and go, that was amazing.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
All it takes is basic education, and that falls on all of us to do. Yeah. All of us.
I think so, but ignorance. The politicians want us to stay ignorant.
Absolutely.
About everything. They want us to stay ignorant. Immigration is one of those things that I think, you know, they want us to stay ignorant about, right? Because if we started looking at it and realizing, wait a second, you know, there's all these different ways, like, you know, you've got did we stop dry foot, wet foot? I can't even remember if we stopped that or not. But, you know, remember dry foot, wet foot, if you're from Cuba, you touch the sand, that's it, you're good. No one can deport you from America. There's all these kinds of crazy things that happen, and we have to somehow settle that out. You know, it's like, I don't know, you're not into rap music. I'm sure Walter's not into it either. But there was this thing in the news
about— Are you judging me, Hank?
Yes, a little bit.
You'd be surprised when I listen to my playlist. You'll die laughing.
Okay, have you ever heard of 21 Savage? Did you hear about the rapper?
I know about the whole story. Yeah. About him, about his immigration issues and being you know, born in England. Yeah, dude, I may be 50 and white, but I'm I have a very diverse a playlist, let's say. Okay,
everyone, there's people out there.
You're a bigot, man.
Yes, I am.
All these years we've been friends, and you don't like me, prejudge me because I'm a pasty white guy with a white beard.
There's a whole bunch of people. There's a whole bunch of gun guys right now that are keeling over. There's heart attacks happening. Like, what, Mac knows who 21 Savage is? But you know, it's a thing. Like, I get that thing that happened to 21 Savage, and people don't understand. Like, I came to America the same way, by the way. That
interesting.
You know, my parents, you know, we lived in England and stuff like that. England was actually one of our last ports of entry. We came to America on a visa. We used to come here every year. My parents came here, and they decided to stay. And then they put in for the paperwork and all those kinds of things. It took a long time. We actually had to leave America and go back to one of our last ports of entry, which for us, it was actually England. We went back. We had to go to an American embassy, go through all these things. They did background checks to see whether or not any of us had criminal records. And if you had a criminal record, you're not getting that thing.
Right.
That happened in 1992. People just don't understand all these different things are going on. And that's one of the problems that's associated to what's happening with 21 Savage, for example. I mean, there's guys like someone, you know, I was in a barbershop, and actually my barber was telling me, yeah, you know, they locked up 21 Savage because he started like talking about conscious stuff and about the government. So that's why they locked him up. What? And I was like, what are you talking about? You know, there's no lyrics. If you listen to him, there's no lyric that I know of that 21 Savage said that was conscious, you know?
Yeah. Don't they accuse him of being a mumble rapper?
Yeah, exactly. So that's not the thing. He got caught up in something. That's how this happened, you know? So ultimately here, what people need to do with all these, people need to realize this is complicated. And I even said to my barber, what happens if someone did something to someone in your family, and then you found out that person was here legally, they weren't even supposed to be here, and then they committed all these crimes and no one did anything about it?
Yeah.
This is
Look,
what we have to decide. Do you want that or do you not want it? It's like, Nancy Pelosi believes in sanctuary cities. But so in other words, people can come into America illegally, be criminals. The cities aren't going to do anything about it. But then if people are defending themselves and that's guaranteed by the Second Amendment, they're going to create a national emergency on that. Those two things just don't make any sense to anyone.
No, it doesn't. And I mean, it plays into their socialist agenda because, they think that California is really bad about this. If you get into California, into a sanctuary city, those immigrants that came in illegally, if they get ill, if they're pregnant, they give birth in a hospital, all this stuff, they go and they get medical attention. They start getting social benefits that are intended for Americans that are paying into Social Security, but they're tapping into that money they've never paid into. And people say, well, it's a victimless crime. Is it really? Because our country's already insolvent. We're taxed at a ridiculous frickin' rate. And it is a victim crime because when you have a sanctuary city and you're taking federal money, which is my tax dollars, to subsidize all the services you're giving away, it is not victimless.
Yeah, that's true.
And so it needs to stop. And the sanctuary city nonsense needs to stop.
Yeah,
But
either we all follow the laws or none of us follow the laws.
right.
You can't have both of those things. That's what I was saying to my barber. Like, just to give him an example, I said, okay, do you have a license and everything to do this? He said, yeah. I said, what if there was a guy next door that didn't have a license but you had to pay the license and pay all the taxes? Would you be happy about that? And he's like, no, because so either we do that or not. So here's a question I'm going to let both of you guys answer this. What immigration laws or solutions would you want us to have? That's something that's coming in.
Well, first thing, stop the flow. You can't fix the problem when you don't stop the flow. You can't. You'll never fix it. You got to stop the influx. Then you can go, okay, let's take a look at this.
Yeah.
But that's not the whole influx is all about votes. That's all they want.
Well, that makes sense. If you keep having a flow, then everyone keeps falling into amnesty and stuff like that.
It's the same. It's like this big loop. You come right back around. Boom. You're right back.
I remember we put in for like someone had to actually sponsor us. My dad was working for a company and all that kind of stuff. And we had to go through that. But what happened was before we ever got our stuff, there were lots. They declared an amnesty. I remember that. So there were a whole bunch of people who were here and they got amnesty. They didn't have to leave. They didn't have to spend all that money. They didn't have to do any of those things. And we all had to go through that process.
How does that make you feel, Hank?
It made me pretty mad.
Yeah, right. You got people that just sneak over the border and they move into a sanctuary city and they get all the benefits of being an American with the exception of paying taxes. And they have all the benefits of being an American. And yet you and your family had to go through a laborious process that took years and cost God knows how much money. You did it the right way. And here you're looking at people that are breaking the law and yet reaping all the benefits.
Yeah,
so what's the incentive of doing it right if you just let people do it?
There isn't one. I mean, it made me pretty mad. My dad got like his master's degree from Brunel in London in metallurgical engineering. Yet the company he was working for so we can come in here was it's still out there. It's called Professional Services. They do maintenance for buildings. So basically my dad was working, sweeping and mopping floors. And I did that kind of stuff with him, even though he had that degree. My older brother, who I think you've met before, he was in 1992 when we did it, he was too old. So he couldn't go with us. He couldn't leave and get that thing. So we all left and came back. And he didn't get his paperwork and all that. And so he had to struggle to make it here. He didn't get his paperwork until, I think, 2002, from 1992, when we did. And that's something that severely hobbled him and held him back. Incredibly intelligent person, So, yeah, those kind of things make me mad because we don't have one system. We need one system that's fair. Why would you have people who have no skills or bring nothing to America and then they get like...
Oh, they bring things. They bring diseases that we haven't had in this country for 50, 75 years. That's what they bring.
Yeah. So that's the thing about that I think is crazy. Why I agree with you. You have to stop the flow, make one rule for everyone, and everyone has to get on that one line. Sorry, go ahead, Mac.
No, yeah, I agree. First of all, the first thing is is stop the flow and bring order to the process. But if you take a look at any other, first world country and their immigration policy, so I always love it, like when somebody doesn't have an election go their way, they say, you know what, if so-and-so becomes president, I'm leaving the country. But yet they never do. You know why? Because if they want to go to England, if they want to go to Norway, if they want to go to Canada, they're not just getting in. It's not like you just show up.
You can't go to Mexico. You can't get in.
No, dude, that's just it. Mexicans can come over the border here and go to a sanctuary city. If I go to Mexico and get a job, they'll put me in prison. Mm-hmm. If I earn $1, their immigration laws are 1,000 times more stiff than ours.
Yeah.
And that's the way most countries are. Our immigration is an absolute joke. But nobody knows that because Americans, just in general, don't really understand the whole world. Their whole world is the United States. They very rarely venture outside of it. They don't even understand what immigration policies look like in other first world countries. And so it's just that Americans just in general aren't that bright. I don't know how else to say it.
Well, Florida voters
unless they educate them
aren't that bright.
I think people need to see these things. They need to understand. I mean, it's why I'm the way that I am. Like I was telling, this is another thing on this thing. When my dad was, when our family was in England, my dad got that master's degree. We're from Guyana. My parents were born British citizens, but a few years before I was born, Guyana claimed the sovereignty, right? So they gave up their citizenships. My parents, they were born British citizens, lived like that up until their 30s. Okay, so when he went to England and got that degree, they wanted to stay there. England said in the end, like the late 70s, you got to go. You have to get the hell out. My sister was born there, so she was a citizen. They said, you can leave your kid. We'll put her in an orphanage, but you have to get the hell out. So, but those countries today try to tell America what to do. You know?
Yeah.
And that's the thing about it. I think people need to see these things and realize how the world really is. And I'm not trying to say America's not perfect, but it's the closest thing that I've seen out there. I don't want to mess around with any other country. This is the one that we have. We obviously have to make it better. And there's things that we're still working on, we could fix. But I think this immigration thing is a huge thing that people need to stop and take a look at it and realize how unfair and crippling it is to a lot of people, including people who are trying to immigrate here and do good things for America. And we're not giving them the opportunity to do that.
Keep in mind, there are two types of voters in this country: people that vote based on emotion and people that vote based on logic and reason. And so it seems like the emotional voters will say, well, gosh, all these poor people coming from these poor countries, like, from the South America side. So they're coming from Nicaragua, or they're coming from Mexico or Honduras, and they're living in deplorable conditions. And we really should just take them in because it just seems like the right thing to do. I mean, yeah, it would be, it would be very human to be not empathetic. But the logical side of that is you can't solve the world's problems simply by letting everybody in the world in. Our country would collapse.
That's like saying there's something going on in your state or in your town, right? And there's some kind of emergency, and let's say you were smart enough to have a generator, or like let's say it's here in Florida, you have a hurricane, everyone's lights out, you have lights on or whatever, people smell you barbecuing, and they're like, you know what? You need to let us all into your house.
And that's where the gun comes out.
And then you're in trouble, right?
Yeah.
The food runs out, the power runs out, and everybody suffers.
Yeah.
So we just need to, we just need to bring order to the whole process. We do need to stop the flow and bring a realistic order to the process. I would say the system's broken at multiple levels. I'm not an expert on immigration, but most first world countries have a merit-based system. What will you bring to the country? Are you going to come here and leech off the system? Or do you have a trade or a skill or something that will benefit the country and the community in which you intend to reside? And I think that's the logical way to do things, right? And I'm all for helping other countries. I mean, one of the best things we could possibly do is some way help Mexico improve its economy and do things like that, so fewer people want to immigrate from Mexico and they want to be in Mexico. I mean, they're our next door neighbor. We can help them through manufacturing and things like that. We should work to help to bring their country up, but they have some pretty deeply rooted problems. I mean, the cartels control the darn country, and there's so many problems with that. But ideally,
let me ask you. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't
No,
want to
no.
cut.
I mean, that's my complete thought. I'll just sit here and
Yeah.
pontificate
Well,
forever.
here's the thing. Here's the thing I want to ask you about this, though, because I mean, I look at this from a different perspective. Being born outside of America and all that. How far does your family go back here in America? Do you
So
know?
my mom actually took an interest in that after she retired, and so she's an official member of the Daughters of the Revolution. So technically, my bloodline goes back to the very founding of the country.
Okay.
I'm mostly English, and I have some Dutch German in me. I have my last name is Dutch German, but I have an English crest. My mom got her family crest. So
Oh, cool.
my family, part of it anyway. Obviously, no, none of us are pure English or pure anything, but goes back to the founding of the nation.
Yeah. So what did the people who founded America, right? Whatever it is we're enjoying and we're talking about and the rest of the world wants to have access to, how was that secured? What did people have to do for that? And the reason why I'm asking you that, isn't that what people have to do in the countries that they're in, like Mexico and the rest of South America? Don't they have to fight for something and be willing to like die and even maybe have their children die to fight for that? Or am I way off base?
I say this all the time, man. You're absolutely right. Freedom is not something that's given. You can't go into a country like, let's say, Iraq and depose a dictator, point a gun at people and say, all right, you're all free, go vote. You're now a republic. And you can force people to do that, and we did, but the minute you pull out, everything falls apart again because they didn't work for it. They didn't even necessarily want it. Their culture is different than ours. It's not something that's given away. Freedom is something that's hard fought for, and it has to come from within. It has to come from deep within, and it has to be something you're willing to fight and die for. And once you do that, then you have freedom. But we can't go around the world giving freedom away because freedom is not free. And we're fighting that right now in our own country. I mean, when I was a kid, if you were a communist, you couldn't even get a damn job. Now we have communists openly running for the presidency of the United States. We have our own problems, man.
Well,
yeah.
And our freedom is fleeting as well. I could go on forever about that, but it's something that you have to want. And those of us on this stream right now, and probably most of the people watching, are diehard patriots who take our freedom extremely seriously.
Yeah, Walter, you wanted to say something?
I don't think a lot of people have any nowadays. There's less and less people have any direct contact to oppression of communists and oppression like in Eastern Europe and stuff like that. That's slowly all going away because of
the generation coming up's already forgotten about it.
Right, but you ask some of these people that are recently here from one of those places that's a shithole, they'll tell you they don't want no part of it to be like that here.
I'm friends with Rob Ski from AK Operators Union, and we've had a couple of conversations about this. So keep in mind, Rob grew up in Poland during communist rule, and he remembers the bread lines. He remembers the hardship. He remembers, fighting to have clothing and food, and how horrible it was living under communist rule. And when we have conversations about communism and socialism, and they're synonymous. People will say they're not, but there's no true communism. The Soviets were socialists.
Yeah. And one is a gateway drug to the other.
Exactly. Well, I mean, we're not a democracy. People call us a democracy all the time. We're not. We're a republic. A true democracy with a country our size simply wouldn't work. It's mob rules. So, and true communism simply wouldn't work in a country the size of the Soviet Union. So that's why they had socialism. So anyway, the point being is that he grew up under that. He knows the hardships. And when he sees, like this Alexander Cortez chick, championing democratic socialism, which is an oxymoron like jumbo shrimp, he's like appalled. It's like, how in the world is this happening in America? I spent my entire life hating communist and socialist ideals. And now we have people like, yeah, man, let's free school and free healthcare and free cars and free phones and free housing. It's like, it ain't free, people. There's nothing free about it. It's who you're going to take the money from. And it only works until the people with the money either go broke or leave with their money. Yeah. But anyway,
when people stop work. If you're going to tax people at 70%, why would they even bother? Why bother? Know?
Why do you think you see all these American companies over the years taking off and going to China for manufacturing, and Burger King making a deal and moving their headquarters to Canada and things like that. What are they doing? They're fleeing our taxation. And what is our taxes primarily used for? Social programs.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, look, if you look at New York, Ocasio-Cortez, right? Today, I think they were saying that Amazon decided to pull out of New York because of Ocasio-Cortez, because she put so much pressure and it was like putting demands on them that they were like, yeah, we can't meet that. Forget it. We're out. I'm not saying I feel sorry for Amazon. I know lots of people are mad at Amazon out there right now. I think Amazon's paying 0% tax or some craziness.
Company that big. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's, places are offering them these incentives to be wherever they are. And New York is losing because of that. I think they were going to put something in Long Island City that could use that. As a matter of fact, there were employees probably of Amazon that were going to buy things or already buying places to live. And there were people planning on starting whole businesses knowing that, hey, Amazon's going to be here. New York City, you just lost that.
Yeah, absolutely. And take a look at this. I mean, if you take a look at what's going on in states like New York, maybe not as bad in New York as it is in California, but people are fleeing those states.
Illinois.
I mean, I fled Illinois.
Connecticut.
People are bailing, man. When it gets so bad, they bail. But that's the way it should be, because what I don't want is the federal government bailing out with our tax dollars these states that have these horrendous social programs. Take a look at what just happened in California. You had the governor of California telling Trump via a tweet that he wasn't going to give the money back for the rail system. That's not going to happen now. It's like, excuse me, those are my tax dollars, jackwagon.
Yeah,
you're not going to give the federal government back the money that's mine.
I just
screw you, California.
I just stop any further money.
Well, that's what we need to do. The federal government needs to stop bailing the states out.
Yeah, California needs to be on their own. Big Dick Willie, that's the name of someone in our audience, Mac.
Okay.
Yeah. He says New Jersey is like that. New Jersey is like that, That's
like
one of the.
In what regard?
In terms of taxes and all those kinds of things are getting ridiculous. They were ridiculous when I lived there, but they can't sustain what they're doing. But the same thing that we were saying about other countries, when people come from other countries and want to make this into where they left, you can't leave other states. You can't leave New York and go to New Jersey and then vote for the same damn people you did in New York. You have to stop that.
That's what they're doing, man. It's like casting a stone into a pond, that ripple effect, that socialist junk. They destroy Chicago. They make it so inhabitable with high taxation and all the other crap that goes on, and people flee it, the same people that voted it in, and then they come to the next state or city over. And then they start all over again. They start voting in the same socialist nonsense until they destroy it, and then they move out of that again. It's like these people don't have two brain cells to rub together, and they spread like cancer.
It's terrible. Now, speaking of Chicago, this is a little bit of a pivot here.
Okay.
But since you know about all the rappers,
I don't know about all the rappers.
Did
you just picked one I knew about.
Okay. Did you hear about this whole Jussie Smollett thing that's going on?
That one I did not. So now you.
Okay. So this is the guy who I think he's on the show Empire.
Oh, I did hear about this. Yes.
Yeah. And so he's a rapper on the show. He's a gay rapper on that show. And he got assaulted. And he says it was some guys and some MAGA hats. Some dudes that look like Walter is what he was saying, right? Walter's about to suit up. Right? Oh, boom. There you go. Walter's got his official MAGA hat on there. So he said these guys beat him up and targeted him in Chicago at 2:00 in the morning
when it was about 30 below freaking zero too.
Yeah, just randomly
out on the street.
Did you hear about all of this, Matt?
Yeah, and presumably these were fellow cast members that he worked with to set this whole thing up, and it was all staged.
Yeah, I think that's what's coming out now because they arrested 2 Nigerian brothers.
Did they get? Were they doing emails at the same time when they got arrested?
Okay,
were they princes that had a bunch of money that they were trying to get? You guys
are gonna hear a lot of jokes, and I'm gonna tell you this is gonna sound crazy, but I used to live in Nigeria. I know a lot about Nigerian people. Yeah, Nigerians are hustlers for real. These are some of the original pirates. Nigerians are still pirates out there.
Yeah, they're butt pirates probably.
Yeah. Nigerian will steal from their own brother. I know this. I know this. I learned all these things. So yeah, what they found out there's these so there was some footage of when he said this happened, right? And they saw these two guys in the shadows, and they identified these guys, I think, by either Lyft or Uber or something like that. You know, they have identified who they were, but they left the country, conveniently enough, right after this happened.
I thought they caught him at the airport. So they
yeah,
coming back.
No, when they were coming back.
Oh, okay.
So for all these weeks, he's been sticking to his story. You know, he's not backing down. He's doubling down. He got on the news and all that kind of stuff. I think he did an interview on ABC. But so yesterday, these guys came back into the country and they got caught at the airport. And they went to their apartment that they have in Chicago, and they found masks and MAGA hat, and rope and bleach and all kinds of stuff. And they were just detaining them, but I think in the last hour or so, the police said that these guys are they're suspects. They're charging them.
Charged,
yeah. So we're gonna find out. More than likely, I'm telling you, I think what happened. One of them was on the show. Was a cast member, not a permanent cast member, like background acting or something.
An extra.
And then both of these guys worked out at the same gym as Jussie Smollett.
So what was the play? What was the purpose of staging this? What did he serve to gain? Just publicity? He was trying to reboot his career or something?
I'm going to say publicity. There's rumors out there that they were going to write him out of the show. I don't know how true that is. But here's one thing I do know, that he recently put out an album. And I was looking at something where they said when this thing first happened to him, other people on the cast were like, oh, wow, this terrible thing happened to him. Get back at Donald Trump and buy the album. Yeah.
Man, this seems similar. Didn't some talk show host do something similar? Like Maury Povich or Jerry Springer or something? Didn't they say they got beat up in a bathroom?
I don't know. The folks out there would have to. People, this kind of stuff has happened before.
Yeah. It was some celebrity whose career was in the crapper, and they wanted to claim, and they claimed that they were, it was a racial inspired attack or something like that, and it turned out that they staged the whole thing. People do dumb stuff, man.
There's a lot of bad stuff going. I'm sorry, Walter. Go ahead.
But the media plays right into these with all this stuff. Oh, this poor guy. Oh, this gay guy. These white guys with ropes and hats and masks. When the police went to this guy's apartment, he still had a rope around his neck. Now, if somebody put a noose around your neck, wouldn't you take that off?
It wouldn't be on. It wouldn't be on. Yeah.
I mean, this is like, I call it a sideshow or a freak show, and the people fall right into it. It's like, oh my God, this is happening nowadays.
But I think this thing kind of
doesn't happen. It's not happening. That's the thing that's bad about it, and it makes people think it is, and then people act on it. And it's like, you're just continuing this process of this, like, let's stir it up. Let's keep stirring it up.
Well,
it's like,
there's a couple of things I think that are wrong here. Obviously, him making up this story and then aiming it at Trump and people who support Trump. I think that has
white folks too.
Oh, so that's what he did, huh?
Yeah.
It was Trump supporters he was attacking.
Yeah, that's what he said, because he said they kicked his ass and said that this is MAGA country. Who how is Chicago MAGA country? I would like to know, because that's run by the guy who
I worked there for darn near 20 years.
Yeah, this neighborhood he lived in is a gay community in Chicago.
At 2:00 in the morning at 30 below.
Yeah, so
ain't nobody wandering around that time of night that cold. No.
Yeah, I think this is a terrible thing for that, because there's people out there who would get mad and go, "Oh, these guys we're going to retaliate." I remember that when I lived in New York, there was Tawana Brawley. There was a lot of things that were faked in New York, like Tawana Brawley. I think recently they found out there was a woman that was raped in Central Park that they found out that didn't really go down the way that they said. Whenever that kind of stuff happens, people get hurt and people actually die in some cases behind that, because people want to get revenge. It's like how Liam Neeson said he heard this terrible thing happen to a woman in his family, and he was walking around with a club looking to get into a fight with a black guy.
Any black guy.
Yeah. This stuff gets people really hurt, or even gets people killed for real.
I can't believe he said that, and that he hasn't been ostracized by his own community for it. because of the racist aspect of it, you know.
Yeah,
like I was just looking for any black guy to beat up. It's like, really, boy, if you know, a conservative, you know, in Hollywood had said something like that, they'd never work again.
Yeah, I think two things happen.
Standard.
Two things are happening with that. Obviously, Hollywood's going to try to forget about it. And then there's people on our side as well that say, look, he's admitting to this thing happened and this is whatever, and we shouldn't hold things against people in the past. And I'm not saying like there are people that want to digitally remove him from the next Men in Black movie, which he's one of the stars of. I don't believe in all of that, right? I think we need to realize that this guy who's very much against guns, okay, in America, that's what Liam Neeson is. He's telling us that in the past, he was out there, something happened and he got mad and he was out there looking for a black guy to look at him sideways so he could beat that guy to death. This is why people need guns. If you've got a guy like this who loses his mind and decides he's going to get revenge on anyone and just go out there, people need to be able to defend themselves against them. And we're missing that part of it, you know? I could tell you I've been through things and I don't go, oh, a white guy did this to me, I'm just going to go randomly get some white guy but I know there's human beings that are that broken.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of broken human beings.
So what do you do with the dude that accuses these people and well, first thing, did he really get beat up?
Did who get beat up? Jesse Smollett?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the weird thing. Like, if you look at him, he has two little cuts. Now, first of all, if you got beat, if two guys attacked you in the middle of the night, he fought back, he would have more than just a cut over here and a cut over here.
His pale black self would be bruised where you could see it.
Now, even worse, I'm going to tell you, if two Nigerian dudes kick your ass,
there'd be knives involved.
Oh, I grew up I lived in Nigeria. I'm telling you, you would be really hurt.
So what do you do?
Okay,
with this
Africans
guy?
don't hit soft.
What do you do? What do you do to this guy? First thing, he's wasted police time. The police have been chasing the story just because he is black and probably gay. They wouldn't have paid, if he wouldn't have been gay and a poor guy, they wouldn't have given a shit. To be honest with you,
I think this is a terrible thing because there are gay people out there who are attacked, by the way. And this is terrible for them, right?
Well, this is crying wolf.
Diminishes the assault that took place against them. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I've spoken to gay people. Like I've met gay people. I think I did a YouTube thing and I met these guys, young black guys that were gay, and they asked me what I was doing. You know, they were talking about, you know, their culture and everything on YouTube. And I told them I was doing gun stuff, and they said, "Hey, we need guns too. We need to defend ourselves too, because people come after us." So he's hurting that whole thing.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah. What do you
do to him?
You arrest him for filing a false police report.
You think that's going to happen? Really?
No.
It's Rahm Emanuel.
He is just scared because he's been targeted before, probably, and we need to understand that. You know?
I think he should immediately lose his job on that show. That's not going to happen. I know that's not going to happen. I think they should press charges against him and make him pay for all the money and everything that had to go into locking up two poor Nigerian brothers.
No, wait, no, whoa.
Okay, I'm being sarcastic.
Whoa. Now, was he out trying to get a fix? Was he out trying to get a little bit of skin at 2:00 in the morning? What was he really out there doing at 2:00 in the morning?
I think he made a deal. Snow. I think he made a deal with these guys I think he set this up. Like, everyone thinks that maybe he got beat up by his boyfriend or someone else. And then I think this guy made this up from the beginning. If they're finding all this stuff with those brothers, this was pre-planned.
Sure it was.
Right? This was pre-planned. He said to them, okay, we're going to need someone on the security cameras. Otherwise they'll go, yeah, nothing happened. Because it's he said he got up at 2:00 in the morning and left his apartment. This is a guy who's an actor, a regular on a show. Okay. He left his apartment at 2:00 in the morning because he was hungry. He was going to get a sandwich. Okay. At 2:00 in the morning.
That's what we all do. It's not,
Yeah, in 30 below. In 30 below.
Yeah, the guy was stoned out of his mind. That's what was going on.
No, if you get up at 2:00 in the morning, you're hungry, you go to the fridge. If this guy is a baller like he's supposed to be, and that fridge is empty, there's something seriously wrong. you know, and you should be able to call some kind of service.
Uber
Yeah.
Eats.
Yeah,
You know, whatever.
I think he set this up. He told these guys he needed to have someone actually on this thing. He needed to do this whole thing. I think he did it because he wanted to up his profile, because no one knew who he was before this. Now we all know who he is. And then I think he wanted to sell albums or whatever it is. And I think ultimately he knows that he's also not really going to be punished for this, because everyone's just going to go, yeah, it was still Trump anyway. You know,
Yeah, right.
That's what's going to happen. There's going to be people like, no, this is all a conspiracy because he was talking about the government.
Oh God.
You know.
So, I did you guys hear about the unfortunate shooting in Illinois today?
Yeah, that's breaking. That's breaking right now. Did you get some info on that?
Oh, I was just listening to the news on the way home, and you know, the reports. This is what I love about the media. The media always starts off with massive body count, all this crazy stuff going on, and then it slowly, as the actual information comes in, it turns out that, I think the last I heard before I jumped on the stream with you guys was that the only fatality was the shooter himself.
Right.
But what I first heard was there was 30 people killed, then there was 30 people shot and wounded plus 4 police officers, and then it petered down to there were several wounded, including 4 police officers, and the only fatality was the gunman himself. And he used a handgun, not an AR-15 or AK. So I predict within the next 48 hours, it's completely out of the news cycle because it doesn't fit the narrative that the anti-gunners want to push. It wasn't an AR-15, and it's not going to help them in their agenda, so that's just going to disappear. But in the beginning, boy, you know, M16s and M60 belt-fed machine guns and, you know, high explosives are being heard all over the city, and it turns into, you know, it was a workplace shooting by a nut job, and hopefully he's the only fatality.
And unfortunately, people are not. I think the reason why it is going to drop out of the news because there's going to be so many of us are going to work, right? There's people who are not working, but there's lots of people that are going to work, and eventually people are going to say, "How come I can't defend myself at work?
Yeah,
how come I can't do that?" You know, there's always going to be someone that's mad. You know, yeah, I know I can. I know I can. You know, I know Walter's got 50s or whatever that he can use if you roll up on him. But what the hell are other people supposed to do? Because there's all these places that have these policies that you can't be armed when you're at work.
Do you remember the gay nightclub shooting?
Yeah,
that took place. What has it been 2 years already?
It's the Florida, the Florida.
What happened in Florida?
Yeah.
So right after that happened, we saw quite a few gay couples come in the gun store. And they wanted to learn more about firearms, and they wanted to buy firearms to protect themselves. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's a horrible situation that prompted that. But, you know, and I said to them, I'm like, welcome to our side of the argument. You absolutely need to protect yourself. Mm-hmm. You're part of a minority group that's targeted routinely by all sorts of people.
Yeah.
You know, mm-hmm. and it's unfortunate that it takes a terrible tragedy like that to wake people up to the reality of they're on the wrong side of the argument. It's real easy to say you shouldn't have guns until your life is threatened. Somebody's breaking in your front door. The police are only minutes away, and that guy's seconds from getting in the house. Mm-hmm. Your mindset tends to change. And it's unfortunate that it takes such a horrible tragedy to get people to realize that the Second Amendment is for everybody. It's
Amen. It is. It is. It absolutely is. No one has the right to go after someone else because of their sexual orientation or their religion or something like that. But me saying that is not going to save you. You know, me saying it's horrible that this guy went into, you had this thing where the guy went into a church and just basically executed these people one at a time. Me saying that shouldn't happen is not going to protect those people. Someone there has to decide that we're not going to let people do this to us anymore.
Yep.
You know, and unfortunately, I know there's churches that do believe in that, and there's churches where the parishioners can be armed and they're out there doing things. But there's a lot of unfortunately, like those people actually forgave that guy, which is crazy.
Yeah, well, that's kind of a Christian thing. So our church has a lot of police officers there, and almost everybody carries a gun. I pity the fool that decides they want to shoot that church up.
Yeah. I think we all need to realize that we have to defend ourselves. This is the world that we live in. It's not to say that just because you go get this gun, that if something goes down, you're going to be able to do something about it. But if you don't have it, you've limited your options to zero.
Yep.
You know, so that's the terrible thing. I don't know. I think someone was saying that there were 5 people, but I think that even that number that there were 5 people dead has been changed. Like Mac was saying, I think it's like 1 person dead and 4 injured.
Yeah, and I think the fatality is the shooter.
Yeah,
last I heard.
Yeah, I mean,
so.
it could be more. Yeah, it could be more people. That would be terrible. You know, but we can't do nice things. We can't tax ammunition. We can't create a registry. We can't make a certain amount of bullets in a magazine illegal and fix any of that.
No, let's just put a tax on ammunition, and that should stop people from using firearms in crime. That's like saying let's put a tax on gasoline, and that should stop traffic accidents.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so stupid. But what it is they're just looking for low-hanging fruit to try to pass any type of anti-gun legislation they can, because again, it's a long-term strategy. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's one of the beefs I have with certain gun rights organizations that think that negotiating and giving our rights away and compromising is a strategy. Surrender is not a strategy. We've compromised enough. People need to realize your gun rights need to be preserved. But
yeah, so kind of there's a couple of things along that line that I want to ask you. Okay, so you know, like the red flag law. Someone put Lola put a question here from folks out there. You know, what do we think about the broken human beings, the mental illness, the red flag laws out there? I recently had Rob Pincus on the show, and he had one perspective on this. I was just interested to see what your perspective is on it.
I'm totally opposed to them. We actually have one in Indiana. We've had one for quite some time. Indiana has actually been fairly good about how they use them, but there are also states that aren't. So, you know, when you have people advocating for a federal law that's going to fund states to pass their own versions of the red flag laws, can you imagine what a red flag law is going to look like in New York or California? You know what I mean? Basically, what it happens for those of you that don't know what a red flag law is, or a risk protection order, what it means is that I can go to a judge in secrecy, just me and the judge in a Star Chamber court, and make accusations against my spouse, and they can be completely false, and say she's nuts, she has guns, she's threatened our children,
I'm scared,
she needs to be disarmed, and I'm scared for my life, right? And then boom, the judge writes an order, and the police go and take her firearms away, and maybe even haul her off to jail for psychiatric evaluation, all based on hearsay and no evidence. The person that's being accused does not get to face their accuser. They are presumed guilty until proven innocent at that point. So if somebody does that, it totally turns our system of government and laws and rights on its head, because we live under the presumption of innocent until proven guilty. Red flag laws presume you're guilty, and now you have to go retain a lawyer to prove you're innocent to get your property and rights restored.
If you ever get your rights restored, or if you ever get your property back, right? Because we know there's lots of places.
Not a good thing. It's the Minority Report. Go watch the movie. That's what it is.
There'll always be a mark someplace that you had this happen. That never goes away. I don't care what they say. It never goes away.
No, that arrest or whatever, that detention will be on your record.
Forever.
But I think was it Maryland or someplace that has a red flag law? The police went to serve, the judge's order. They kicked the door in of the wrong house and killed the homeowner, and they got the wrong address.
Yeah, so, there's a bunch of stuff like that happens.
There's so many dangers in doing that. Right? You're risking police, you're risking innocent civilians and citizens. It's unnecessary. You can't assume that somebody is crazy or whatever. Now, there's plenty of stuff that has happened in the past. Let's take a look at the Parkland shooting. I mean, we've had these people that make threatening posts on Facebook and things like that warrant law enforcement taking a look at it.
Like, but law enforcement
on Facebook and say they didn't do anything.
They did.
We didn't need the extra laws. They just had to actually respond to the tips they had already been given.
Mhm.
I mean, that goes all the way back to 9/11, the same damn thing.
Oh yeah.
FBI had
Right.
plenty of tips. They could have
Yeah.
prevented it. They chose
If you
not
threaten
to.
someone,
Don't need
if
any
you
more
threaten
laws.
someone, yeah, if you threaten people and the cops show up and it becomes a thing, I get that. But what we're having here, especially if you do it repeatedly like that, and no one did anything about this guy, that's opening it up. But what we have here is a completely different thing. And there's a lot of places that are going to get into the business of taking stuff from people and they don't get the stuff back. We've seen that already. There's already a record of that, of people losing their things and never getting them back. And in the case of guns, there's some guns that money is not going to replace that gun.
Yeah. Yeah. At a minimum, you're still going to have lawyers' fees.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get that money back. You have to go to a court, hire an attorney, and prove you're not guilty of whatever the accusations are before you can even, have, like, if you listen to Chris Cox's video that he did in support of the risk protection orders, he said that people should be forced to get treatment. My wife is angry over a divorce, and so she feels vindictive and she goes to the Star Chamber Court and makes up a bunch of bogus accusations. Now I must go get treatment. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You have to go to re-education.
Exactly. But what happens when you go get treatment? You're now a prohibited person because you're mentally defective.
You got that mark.
You've been
forever.
adjudicated as being, yeah. So, I mean, it's a complete farce.
Yeah.
And
I
they
think
don't even enforce the laws that are on the books, and they keep wanting to pass more laws.
There are already laws on the books to get people's stuff if you want them.
Yeah,
I'm opposed to that,
But the stuff is already there. They don't enforce. So now we have to give it a new name: red flag laws or whatever we want to call it.
You know what's the crazy thing? People say there's lots of politicians, like what happened here in Florida. I spoke to the Republicans who put this thing into effect. Republicans could have actually killed it in committee, and they didn't. They let it through. They voted for it. The governor at the time signed it, and then he went on. He's actually in the Senate now. And when I asked them about it, they say, "Look, that's there, but no one's going to use it." And that's so batshit crazy.
Ask that kid at UCF.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say, Walter. So there's a kid at UCF
but he also had a drop-in auto series made.
Yeah, he had a drop-in auto sale or whatever. They arrested him, but when they charged him under the bump stock law.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so they're gonna pile on. If you have that stuff, they're gonna pile.
Of course, if it exists, they're going to use it. Here's another thing. So the person who what was the commissioner of I think it's like the farms or something like that. The person who's in charge of CCWs here in Florida.
Agriculture Commission.
Agriculture, yeah. So a Democrat actually won that seat in Florida, and that person's plan is to slow down until they shut down CCWs.
Wow.
So, this is the thing that we are dealing with here in Florida, and no one's worried about that. And they're like, "Oh, nobody's actually going to use it. Don't worry about it. They're not going to really use that against you," and they're already doing it. So if you let these red flag laws come into effect and you have the wrong people running everything where you live, of course they're going to sit there and go, "Yeah, we're making this a sanctuary city. We're giving all this stuff to people. We got to get money. Let's take the guns, sell the guns." Use the money to pay for these things, and people don't ever get the guns back.
They're not smart enough. They're not smart enough to sell the guns. They'd rather throw them in a smelter.
People that say that, "Oh, don't worry about it. They'll never use the law." That has to be the most ignorant thing I've ever heard. And the other thing you have to think about is it's much easier to stop a law than it is to have a law passed and undo that law. Mm-hmm. It is 10 times harder to reverse a law than it is to stop a law. Mm-hmm. And people need to get off their butts and fight these laws. But again, we just had this apathetic group, especially in the Second Amendment community, where as long as a Republican holds the White House, we're safe. Republicans aren't going to take our guns. And they sit back and let gun control happen.
But what is it going to take to wake people up, man? I'm just like, what the hell is it?
You can't. I mean, I wish I knew
you were talking about this earlier, right? This is one of the things I want to bounce back to a little bit. You were saying that people come to you and it is true. People send me messages all the time. They're like, "Did you see this happen? You got to talk about this and this thing." And I try to do it. I'm sure you try to do it. But ultimately, what you said is true. We can, like, you guys have to get mad and actually do things about this out there. That's what it really takes in order for this to stop. Like, we can't do everything. It's almost, I hate to say this, it's almost like porn. You know, you look at porn, you do your business, and now you're no good. You know, so if you see us say it and then we're mad about it and you're like, oh yeah, he's mad about it, and then you get it out of your system and you forget when you have to go out there, vote these guys out, create alternative parties, you know, call these people up and say, no way in hell we're going to let you get away with this. When you see their asses out there, you have to do the same thing the Democrats are doing. You know, you have to put shame on them.
Yeah. And honestly, at the state level with state laws, you guys have to organize and be politically active. You can't expect other people to carry your water for you. You got to get out there and get active. Join a state group, you know, pro Second Amendment state group, and go out there and be an organizer yourself. A lot of the folks that are watching right now are great leaders. Lead, you know, and fight in your own state, because me being an Indiana resident, there's not a whole lot I can do for a Washington state resident.
No.
You can't do everything. A Washington state senator, you know, isn't going to do me any good. They're going to say, where do you live again? Indiana. Who the click? They don't care what I think. They don't represent me.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Think about that. That's really, really important. Even like when it comes to social media and stuff like that. By the way, all these people are on social media, all these politicians. There's no politician out there that holds an office that's not on social media.
Yeah. Beat them up.
When you need to send them messages from people in their neighborhoods. You see these guys out there waving and everything when it's time to vote. When they see your face and they realize, oh, this person's right here where I live in Gainesville, that's what it is. When they have to look you in the eyes, like when I saw some of these guys and I was giving them hell about it, they were just looking at me like, this guy's a bastard. Yeah, they need to see more of that. Until, you know, that's the pressure that they have to feel, because right now, you know what they're really worried about? I think they all want to be on the Tonight Show. They all want to be on the news. That's why they did this stuff. That's why they tell us, oh, yeah, I believe in the Constitution. I believe in the Second Amendment, you know, but they don't. Yeah, but
it's always a but.
Yeah. You know, this is the problem. I mean, in Florida now, you can't buy any gun unless you're 21 years old. And I spoke to the guy who could have killed this thing in committee. He serves Gainesville, and I said, your people can't buy a gun in Florida unless they're 21 years old. And he was like, yeah, I don't think that you should even be able to vote until you're 21. That was his response to me.
Let me get this right. You can enlist at the age of 17 with parental consent. You can enlist at 18. You can go and fight and die for our country. But you can't drink a beer. You can't buy a firearm back when you get home. But you can carry a firearm on a foreign soil and fight to defend liberty.
Yeah,
but
that's
you can't
bullshit.
do that. But when you come home, sorry, give us the guns back. You can't be trusted until you're 21.
Yeah, you can't have guns. And if they had their way, you can't vote either. And I said to him, okay, we're in Florida, dude. There's a 18, 19-year-old young man, young woman out there who's on their own, and you're saying that they can't defend themselves in their apartment, they can't have a gun in their car, or you're saying they can't do. You already couldn't conceal carry until you're 21. But I said they can't do that. And you know what he told me? Because he's like, oh, I have a daughter, and the way that we wrote it, if you have a daughter, you could buy something and you could give it to her. And I was like, dude, that's a straw purchase,
right? Well, but not technically, even under federal law. So, like, I can buy a firearm and give it to a family member for a Christmas present. That technically it's a straw purchase, but it isn't. The ATF doesn't care about that, right?
Okay, let's say it's not. What about that 20-year-old who doesn't have a family member to do that for her?
Right, and and I just give them a gun because I want to. I don't know.
Yeah,
it depends. I mean, there's so many gray areas of the law. Where they could pinch us at any time for almost anything.
Yeah, that's the problem that we have, man. That's the truth. Everything that you're doing is wrong.
For the most part. I mean, you wake up and drive to the office, and just in the process of getting up, dropping your kids off at school, getting a cup of coffee, and showing up at work, you probably technically broke 5 laws, and you don't even know it.
Yeah.
There's so many stinking laws on the books. You know?
I wish we could just, we need to just simplify these laws, man. That's the thing that we need to do. Unfortunately, it seems to me like there'll never be the will out there unless something really happens and people really get mad and go, yeah, all of these laws have to go away and we have to simplify this down.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Don't spend a
Yeah.
lot of time on it. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's totally. Oh, you know what? Okay, let's talk about the SHOT Show thing, because Mac, you didn't go to SHOT Show. You know,
Yeah, I don't go to SHOT Show anymore, man.
right, right. Yeah. Do you want to tell the folks out there why you don't go to SHOT Show before we get into? There's a SHOT Show story. That's why I want to.
Oh, there's a SHOT Show. Does it
Yeah.
involve me?
Yeah. No, doesn't.
Oh,
Unless,
good.
Well, it could.
unless you're a Teamster thug. You a Teamster
Okay,
thug?
cool.
Yeah.
So I quit going to SHOT Show a few years ago. So like, I don't go to SHOT Show because it's expensive to go. I don't have a company that sponsors me, that buys my plane ticket and puts me up in a hotel room. It's money out of my pocket. It's not inexpensive. Even when I was staying in dumps like the Circus Hotel, and if you've ever been to Circus, yeah, right. It's like it is a disgusting cockroach motel. I mean, we traveled as dirt cheap as we can. You're still spending several $1,000s. I'm not going there to sell video or services. I'm not, sponsored by anybody to go. So for me, it's just a matter of economics. I don't really gain anything by going there. And every time I would go in the past, I get deathly ill. So not only am I spending a bunch of money,
I saw you almost die one time. Yeah.
Yeah. I wound up in the hospital. So it's like, I don't
You
want to
were
get
green.
sick.
You were
I don't
green,
want to
man.
throw money
I
down a
remember.
hole.
Yeah.
So
Also, I think for you, you're more productive staying home, right? Like if people want to see gun videos and things like that, you would probably get more work and more things out there from.
Yeah. So I mean, the first year or two that I went to SHOT Show, I did like everybody else does when they first go, right? You run out on the floor and you try to get the scoop, man. You want to get video of all the latest and greatest, whatever it is. But the reality is there's thousands of media people there, and the bloggers are the fastest because they don't have to edit and upload video. They're breaking all the new cool stuff. You're not breaking anything. And I realized I'm standing at a booth holding a product I've never shot. I don't know anything about it other than what the rep tells me about it. I'm just regurgitating what they've told me, which doesn't really give my audience anything of substance, right? I haven't fired it. I haven't seen if it works or not. I haven't field stripped it. You know what I mean? So I only did that for a couple of years, and I realized, you know what? I'm just going to go and just meet companies and try to, build relationships. But even then, it didn't really bear any financial fruit for me because, again, I'm not sponsored by any companies, not there selling videos. So I just finally just said I can't justify it anymore.
Yeah. So now there was one thing, because I know there was this whole controversy this year. Before I get into the article, which I shared here, everyone can start reading that. There was this controversy this year because they put chips in the IDs and the badges. Now you did a little bit of trolling. You want to tell people?
I did troll that one, man. People took that so seriously, dude.
Not in everybody's badges.
It was so funny because I mean
it was in all media. It was in all media badges, by the way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it was. And I actually have one. I actually have this alien head, and I wanted to continue the troll, and I may still, but now I'm giving it away. And I was gonna like have that little RFID chip with me and say, here's that RFID chip from the SHOT Show, but there's really nothing special about it. And I have this alien head that would be blurred off in the background, like peeking around a corner. Like it was all this conspiracy stuff, but.
What were you saying while we were at SHOT Show? Because someone was like, "Yeah, well, Mac said this about those chips," and I was like, "What?" I was trying to figure out what you said because I was like, "Why do people actually believe what Mac is saying?" I was pretty sure. I don't think people realize that you have a sense of humor.
They don't, and even NSSF contacted me and said, "Look, man, all the chips was just to track movement through the show floor," and I know that.
They got in touch with you. You weren't even at SHOT Show.
I know, right? I'm like, oh boy. I should have waited until April 1st, but SHOT Show was going on at the time. And somebody sent me a picture of it, and then they mailed it to me because I thought it was funny. I wanted to continue to use it as a prop to, but yeah.
What did you say about it?
It actually kind of backfired.
Oh, okay.
People took it deadly serious.
What was the thing that
post looked deadly serious? What's that?
Okay. What was it that you said?
Something about like, what the hell is NSF doing? They're in cahoots with the NRA, and then what data are they transmitting, and they're following you home. I can't remember.
Oh, okay.
It was something along those lines, right?
Okay. I see that.
It bordered on the absurd, right?
Right.
And people took it to heart, and I laughed about it, and I wanted to continue it. My buddy that had the chip mailed it to me so I could use it for future reference. Mm-hmm. I still have it, and I may joke with it at some point, but people got kind of really nasty about it, and I thought, never mind.
Yeah,
I'm gonna think up something for April 1st, and maybe people will
Yeah.
People just take me too seriously, man.
Yeah, I think people do. I mean, you're kind of like an institution, and there's people that don't realize that you joke. I realize it because you mess around with me sometimes.
I know.
Doing it, you do stuff off camera that people don't see. They don't realize you're always messing with people.
I am. And what's so funny is I have deadpan humor. So like I'll mess with people like waitresses at a restaurant. So they'll say, what would you like to drink? And I say, I'd like to have a Coke, please. We don't have Coke. We only have Pepsi products. What would you like to drink? I'm like, I really want a Coke. There's a gas station just 2 blocks down the corner. I know they sell it. Can you run down there real quick and grab one for me? And I just look at them dead serious. And they're like, their mouth is agape, right? They're just like,
yeah, is he?
And then I go,
is this real?
Just kidding. I'll take a Pepsi. And they're like, oh my gosh, I thought you were serious.
Yeah,
that's just my type of humor.
Yeah, that reminds me of that. There was a commercial at Super Bowl which I didn't watch, but I looked at one of the commercials. There's a commercial that says it's for Pepsi, saying that Pepsi is okay. Did you see that? There's this commercial where
I don't watch the Super Bowl, man.
So I watch this on YouTube because I don't watch Super Bowl either. But there's a guy in a diner. And the waiter comes up and the guy asks for a Coke and the waiter says, we only have Pepsi products. Is that okay? And then all these stars get up and start going, of course, Pepsi's okay. They have Cardi B and Steve Carell and all kinds of people. And I'm like, no, Pepsi's not okay. It's not. And that there's going to be people that are going to be mad because they believe in Pepsi or whatever it is. But go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, it's not that I don't want to watch the Super Bowl, but as soon as the Super Bowl starts, I take a knee and I can't see the TV.
Oh, understood. I don't know what you're doing on that knee, but okay.
It's a joke.
I know that.
Okay. See,
there's some people. Huh?
Oh, never mind.
I got it. Walter, did you get it? Did you get that joke?
About taking the knee at the football game?
Yeah, it's a Kaepernick thing. It's a Kaepernick.
Okay. Thank you. It's a Kaepernick thing.
It's a Kaepernick joke. Which I think I heard that Kaepernick settled his lawsuit with the NFL, but I don't care enough to go read the article.
I don't care either. Is he still relevant? It's like, seriously.
Not to me. So here's the thing that happened at SHOT Show, and this is in the firearms blog and a lot of other, or the firearm blog, and a lot of other places. Says men arrested for stealing machine guns and silencers from SHOT. So there's an affidavit in there that says a pair of Las Vegas men were charged Wednesday with stealing dozens of firearms from the shooting hunting outdoor trade show in January. Jamaico Foster, 27, and Eduardo Limon, 28, worked as forklift operators during the trade show at the Sands Expo Convention Center, according to a criminal complaint. The two appeared in court to face federal charges for possession of a stolen firearm and possession of an unregistered firearm after authorities says they'd stolen at least 65 firearms, including machine guns, rifles, stuff from Remington Arms, LKCI, Blazer USA, and Legacy Sports International, January 20th to 29th. And this is the kicker in this whole thing that's really batshit crazy. Both men were released on their own recognizance.
Say what? That's like major federal felony.
What? I don't understand this. Yeah. Like we're all FFLs, all of us on this chat.
What? They're Hillary Clinton donors.
This is so crazy. This is so crazy. Walter's an FFL. You're an FFL. I'm an FFL, actually. Nobody probably believes that, but I am. If you did this,
it's a federal offense to steal from a licensed firearm dealer, by the way.
It absolutely is. And it's steal a machine gun.
That's even more.
That's a mandatory 10-year sentence.
Yeah.
Right. They're probably on their way back to Mexico.
This is kind of insane. And Walter, because you had a booth at SHOT Show, I actually hung out with you the last day and we saw all the guys in there that come in, the crews that come in and pack up stuff. And I'm telling you, the guys across from you were looking at me suspiciously because Walter packs all his own stuff in these metal containers and locks them down. And those guys were looking at us. I was like, man, my spider senses were going off. I was like, why are these guys scoping us out? Because we're sticking around. And I think that might have been the dudes.
Interesting. So
I'm not even kidding. Ask him. Huh?
It's not uncommon for firearms to go missing from SHOT Show. So it was
65.
Well, no, 65 maybe not, but I mean, guns get stolen from booths all the time.
Yeah.
I at the IWI booth, 2-3 years ago. I think it was the last time I went, so maybe
Yeah.
3 years ago. They had introduced the Uzi pistol again, right? The little mini micro Uzi pistol, and it was not yet on the market, but one of them disappeared from the booth. Now, if you know anything about SHOT Show, you can't have a gun on the floor that's fully operable. It has to have the firing mechanism, firing pin, whatever,
Right.
taken out of it. It has to be disabled, so somebody can't stick a live round of ammunition in it and cause it to fire. So this gun was stolen, and to try to make light of the situation, I told the guys at the booth, I'm like, that really sucks, but look on the bright side. When they get the gun back home, they try to shoot it, it doesn't fire, and they realize it doesn't have a firing pin. You're going to get a phone call asking for a firing pin. You'll know who the culprit is because it's the only one out in the wild.
Hells yeah. Now, guess what, Mac? It's really funny that you said that, because you know how they caught these guys?
They were looking for parts to make them work.
They were calling around stores in Las Vegas looking for firing pins.
I knew it. I'm like, I'm Mac the Prophet.
That's how they caught them. That's how they
man.
caught them. There were stores that started reporting that there were people calling in
looking
saying,
for AR-15 firing pins.
Yeah, they're looking for AR-15 firing pins and things like that.
Yeah, hey man, I got this Negev belt-fed machine gun. I need a firing pin for it. Negev? Where did you get a Negev? I'm calling the ATF. Yeah. Wow, man.
But it's insane. How could these guys get released? I don't understand how these guys get released. All the stuff that we're facing, right? All the crap that's going on. And these guys steal 65 guns, some of them machine guns, they steal suppressors, all kinds of stuff. They release them.
Major felonies, each count. I mean, if they stole 65 guns, and let's say each one of them carries a 10-year sentence, that's a life term in federal prison.
Yeah, why
in federal prison? You don't get out for good behavior.
And they're in the time. But it's Nevada. All they have to do is get in a car and drive.
Right. Man, I don't know, dude. That's a crazy story. The fact they just let them out on their own recognizance is nuts.
Yeah. John Dieter says high points were untouched. Laugh out loud.
Did you see the new High Point handgun?
Yes, I
did. Looks pretty snazzy.
Yes, I did in person.
Yeah, they pulled it in a little bit. They pulled it in. Have you actually shot it yet?
No, I haven't.
It's
I
not
just saw
released
pictures
yet.
of it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I figured
my friends grabbed a couple from SHOT Show, but they haven't showed up in the mail yet. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they won't have firing pins. They won't have firing pins.
See, there's more of my hammer, right? So.
But I bet you have 5-point firing pins.
I have a C9. I did buy a C9.
Yeah. I have a high point because I did this video where I think I did a bunch of things like this where I was like, you can buy, because people tell me, what can I do if I don't have money? I can't afford a gun. And I was like, you can get a gun for $100. You can get a handgun. And so I went out to find out if I can get a handgun or a rifle for $100. The rifle, I got a 22, and the handgun was a high point 9mm. So
yeah,
I'm pretty sure Walter has a high point right there somewhere close by.
I do. I'm looking at it.
Yeah. I have a high point 10mm carbine.
Yeah. How is that?
It's awesome, man.
You like it? Okay, cool.
A 10mm blowback.
Yeah.
I love it.
No
locking mechanism. It's C-Mac and plastic, baby, and it holds together.
You know what I want to do, Ed? You're a bullpup guy. I want to get one of those and put a bullpup kit on it, just for the hell of it.
Do they make a bullpup kit for the high point carbines?
I know they make one for the 9mm. I don't know if it's going to fit the 10. That's the thing.
Well, I don't know. Is the 10 any bigger than the other ones?
I don't. The only reason I have a high point, only reason I have a high point carbine is because I found one in 10mm. I don't have any desire to own another caliber.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I don't know. You might have to be modified. I see Walter's messing around with a bullpup that we put together, like a kit right over there.
Yeah, the 22.
Yeah.
Oh, that looks just like the real deal.
Yeah, it's very, 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 very similar.
Yeah, that we built that up. Barnauls has the Ruger 1022. They make the receivers and barrels and stuff like that now. Yeah. So we built it up on that. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so whenever because I know you're gonna get that stuff first. By the way, I know you're gonna get that high point, and you'll be
if I see one for sale and it's not $5,000, I'll probably buy one.
Do you think the first one that goes out there is
Could you imagine that? It's like everybody's waiting in line like it's the new, P365, and there's like a waiting list for the new fancy high point. No, yeah,
Wow.
if one shows up at a local gun shop, I'll probably pick one up just for giggles because it'll be a fun video.
Okay. Now I did see this because I do follow you on Patreon. I do, I am one of your Patreons. You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I follow you back, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, you do.
I know I do.
Yes, you do. You do. Absolutely.
So basically, we give each other's money. It zeroes itself out.
By the way, that's not me.
Man.
Yeah, that's not me, Mac. That's Lola. Lola is in charge of that. So, yeah. So thank Lola for that. If it was left up to me, I would be like, okay, Mac, good on you. No, I wouldn't do that. I actually like watching your videos, but I do follow you. I saw that you got your hands on the Reformation. Did you make a video on that? I saw a picture.
I did. It's uploaded, and before I go to bed, I'll post it to Patreon so you can watch it.
Okay. So what's up with that?
You want me to give away the secrets?
Well, tell us a little something.
It was far more accurate than I anticipated.
Okay.
So, I mean, if anybody, you got one.
Yeah.
Right.
This is why I'm so happy that you did a video. By the way, no bullshit. You can ask Lola. When I saw that you did a thing on it, I was like, Lola, make sure you find out whatever Mac put on his videos so that when people look at Mac's video, they look at my video. But I did do a video on it before I went to SHOT Show. Franklin Armory actually sponsors this podcast, so that's like full disclosure. Yep. I think that's kind of stuff is really important. But
they sent me 2 guns on T&E, so mine are T&E samples. Yep.
Yeah, cool.
Because I wasn't going to spend the money on them. I was curious about them.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing, man, because I know you're going to say, I've known you for a while. You're going to, no matter what, you're going to say whatever happened.
No, I say this.
Yeah. So,
I'm honest.
Yeah, and I'm that way. I'm that way as well, believe it or not. But the thing is, they sent me one, and they were like, "Yeah, shoot that at 100 yards, and let's see what happens." So I was shooting at steel. I didn't shoot at paper like you did. I want to go back and do some stuff, but I was hitting the steel with this from 100. So I think you did 50. Did you do 50 yards?
I did 100.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Wait. When we get to the 100-yard part of the video, things become very, very interesting. I also shot some ballistics gel with it as well.
Yeah. So this is going to go up on your Patreon tonight, right?
Yeah. As soon as we get done here, it should be done processing. That's what I was working on. When you're like, hey, you're going to make the stream tonight. That's the video I was trying to get.
Oh, done. Awesome. Yeah, I want to see this thing. I want to see this thing. You guys have to actually support Mac on Patreon if you want to see it. How long does it stay up on Patreon before everyone else can see it? The people who don't want to support you.
I'm so short-handed, man. I may release it Saturday, Monday for sure.
Oh, okay.
But as soon as we get done here, I'm going to post it to Patreon, and people will get to watch it. So it's a long video. I had to break it up into 2 segments. So I have 2 guns they sent out for me for testing. One's 5.56, just like the one you're holding there. Then I got the 11-inch 300 blackout gun. Okay. And we're going to do the same battery of tests with 300 blackout, and we're also going to run a suppressor on it. They say that you can. We're going to find out, and I'm going to use a Q Trash Panda. So if I break the can, oops.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Kevin. But,
I'm looking forward to seeing this video. I mean, what can you tell us about this video? I know you don't want to give away a bunch of stuff.
What's so funny is the stuff I've been posting on Instagram, all the hate I'm getting because I'm posting groups. I mean, if you shot the thing, the thing group's good. Yeah. Right. If I shoot 55 grain rounds and at 50 yards, 4 inches, 3 to 4 inches. If I shoot 62 grain AP or not AP, but green tip M855 ball, I'm shooting really tight groups, like through the same hole groups at 50 yards. Mm-hmm. And I will say at 100 yards, it was very easy to hit a man-sized target at 100 yards. So it defies logic. And that's the positive side. There's other aspects of the video that I want people to watch the video to see because, there's 2 sides to every coin. Everything has a trade-off.
Absolutely.
But everybody's going like, how much did Franklin Armory pay you to promote this garbage? It's like, they didn't pay me a dime. And I said on Instagram, Franklin Armory, and I tagged them, feel free to tell, my viewers exactly how much you paid me for this video. And they said, we didn't pay you anything. We sent you 2 T&E guns. So, and they said, and I believe them because, I've talked to them, worked with them in the past. They're not trying to influence me whatsoever. And the video reveals all. So, It's a very good video, but it's
I think
34
that's
minutes
only
long.
right. I mean, you know, ultimately, this is what I keep trying to tell people. If someone takes money to lie to you, you're gonna, you know, this is not we don't do this in a vacuum where we just put out the YouTube videos and we don't ever see folks out there. If someone's gonna go like trade in guns or sell guns or take money that they worked a couple of months for to buy something and you lie to them, you're gonna see those people at some point. Yeah. So, you know, but why is there so much hate, in your opinion, about the Reformation?
I think it's the whole fact that the gun keyholes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we as gun people have always frowned upon keyholing for good reason.
And what is keyholing for folks out there that don't?
So keyholing means the bullet destabilizes and tumbles end over end in flight. And typically when that happens, it's less accurate than a musket. So if you have a target at 50 or 75 yards, you're not getting a group, and you may occasionally hit a man-sized target at 50, 75 yards with a rifle that's keyholing.
Mm-hmm.
I had a Century Arms Tantal that I bought back in the day, and it was a keyhole monster. And at 50 yards, if I fired 30 rounds at the target, maybe 10 of them actually hit the target, man-sized target.
So what would happen to a round keyholing? Is that still effective? Would that still take someone down?
If it hits you?
Or is it just like a little punch or something?
No, it ain't a little punch.
It depends on the range.
Okay.
If it was relatively close and the keyholes and it hit you,
if you're standing at 15 yards, because that's where I put the ballistics gel, it's going to leave a mark. So I mean, I'll tell you right now, at 15 yards, the bullet clearly keyholed. So on the face of the ballistics gel, you can see the bullet hit perfectly straight up and down, and it traversed the entire block of gel. So at 15 yards, it is extremely lethal.
Okay.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And the worst kind of wound too. I mean, not, you know, all wounds are bad, but that kind of stuff is bad.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if I got a picture here I can share with you guys.
Oh, okay. So what is the big opposition from folks out there then? I know you said that it sounds kind of counterintuitive.
So here's an example of a group. There we go.
Yeah. So I saw one that you could put your fist through that you posted.
That was a 20-shot group. This is a 10-shot group. From 50 yards, that orange circle in the middle is 1 inch in diameter. So that gives you an idea. And you can clearly see the keyhole round. See where the bullet imprint is sideways?
Yeah, it looks like,
But most of those 10 shots went through the same hole. So that's what keyholing is. So people don't like it because typically speaking, when you impart spin on a bullet, so it's spinning and then it tumbles, apparently, I'm not a scientist, but this is the only thing I can come up with, that causes the bullet to have even more erratic of a flight pattern. Because the Reformation does not spin the bullet, it has straight cut rifling, and I actually recovered a bullet. I can show you what straight cut rifling looks like on a bullet.
Yeah, I'd like to see one of those.
So here's what straight cut. Now, if you ask me, it looks like it might even have a little bit of a twist to it.
Oh, okay. Are there some grooves in it? I know.
You see the groove? You can see there are grooves in it, but they're straight grooves.
Right.
But that to me looks like a little bit of a twist. Maybe not much. But typically, you're going to see that stripe.
Maybe maybe by 1 or 2 degrees. Yeah.
Okay. So that's a recovered Reformation round. Okay.
Right, and you were just shooting regular ammo, right? Because I don't think they've
that's
developed...
an 855 ball.
Yeah, they haven't. They said they're going to develop some ammo, but to my knowledge, they haven't put that out.
That may change things. Yeah, so they're talking about developing a flechette type of round that looks like. Basically, it has a broad head on it, then it tapers back, and then has stabilizing fins, and that would make it, more of a perhaps a more effective firearm in certain circumstances. Again, I don't want to give away the results of the video,
right?
But so typically speaking, keyholing rounds are unpredictable and are far less accurate than a musket. Obviously, based upon the group I just showed you, the Reformation, the bullets tumble in a straight line, and they tumble in a straight line to 100 yards.
So it's like an axe kind of a deal going through.
Yeah, it's like throwing a knife, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
someone said like a football.
Well,
which we don't know anything about football, so.
but even a football flies faster, more true, and more predictable if you put a proper spin on it, and you keep the football, lengthwise flying towards the target. Imagine throwing a football end over end, much like if you kick a football, right?
Yeah, it's gonna arc. It's gonna arc.
Right.
I'm assuming. All right.
I just lost one of my earbuds.
We can still hear you.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I think the battery probably died. Anyway, so yeah, I mean the accuracy is there, but there are other issues to take into account, and I address the fact the question of how does this really compare to a pistol with a brace on it?
Mm-hmm.
Are there benefits to it? Because the Reformation has a real stock. You can put a vertical grip on it with a braced pistol. You can put a brace on it, but you can't put a vertical grip. And now some people will say, well,
Right.
if it's 26 inches in overall length, you can put a vertical grip on it. Well, the ATF has issued conflicting letters, and I'm not going to risk going to prison for 10 years to put a vertical pistol grip on a
Right.
vertical grip on a pistol. I don't care how long it is.
And then they wanna go back on that. I don't think everyone realizes that, but that's one of the plans, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the NFA is one of those things you don't want to mess with. So if there's a gray area, I stay out of it if I can. Like the vertical grip on a pistol. I don't want to mess with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and then the thing is, I don't know what they sent you, what the price points are. I know some people don't like this one does not have that binary trigger. So I think it's the retail on it is $1,000. So and there's people saying, why would I spend $1,000 on that when I could build a pistol for
California,
$400?
California.
Right. So I think they range in price from right around $1,000 to about $1,400 with the binary installed. So they sent me the one with the binary, and I show that binary being functioning and stuff. I think it's the latest version of their binary trigger. I talk a little bit about that. But in the video, you will have a ballistics gel test, and we have it on slow motion camera. And then we do have a 100-yard accuracy test, and we do a little bit of penetration testing and stuff like that. So there's a lot of good information in there. And it's in your face, and yeah.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing that, man. That's, I like the way that you do your videos, and everyone has their own way that they do stuff. I try to do things in my particular my particular way, but
You're
enjoy
more creative
watching.
than I am.
Really? You think so?
You're very creative. I'm not. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I have.
I don't edit well.
Oh, well, I don't have your depth of knowledge and understanding, and I also don't have all the cool, badass guns that you have. Unless Walter comes to visit, then I get access to stuff. So, I think I'm actually looking forward to seeing that video. So, and I'm not just saying that because you came on. I would, I've been waiting for it. I'm like, where the hell's the video? Max putting up pictures. Stop teasing us and put the video out.
Well, as soon as we get off here, I'll jump over. I can do it right here from my. If you want, I can put it up right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think people would love to see it. I'm sure
it's only going to Patreon. It's only.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, you got to support Mac on Patreon. So. I know that's the thing that you're doing now. Do you want to explain to folks out there if they don't know, if they've been living in a vacuum, how you're doing things nowadays?
Yeah. So when YouTube basically just turned us all off a couple of ago, we all remember that. Like they shut off all of our monetization.
Yeah, I think your other thing went, but we can hear you. I think your other ear. Yeah, your other ear thing. Yeah, so we can still hear you though.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so when let me put them back on their charger here.
Yeah.
There we go.
Modern technology, man. Batteries. Imagine this happening to your car. This is why I don't want an electric car.
I wish these things lasted longer than that, man. That we haven't been on that long.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Patreon is when they shut us off, we had zero monetization. At that point, I had just made the cut over for the most part to being a full-time YouTuber, and they basically our earnings went to literal zero and stayed that way for quite some time, and then slowly eked back up, but still, down 70+% in earnings from what we were, 5 years ago. So I went to Patreon. And when I went to Patreon, I said, look, if you guys support me at Patreon, I will not take any industry money. I will not, take paychecks to do videos and stuff like that. If you support us in our effort, then we will stay completely free of industry influence, and we'll tell you everything as straight as we possibly can, full transparency, and, blah, 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 blah. So that is how we've used Patreon, and we've been doing it now for 2 years. And so I completely severed ties with the industry. It's another reason why I don't go to SHOT Show. It's because I'm trying to stay free of industry influence. I just want to be able to say what I want to say when I want to say it. I don't want to have to worry about if I say something negative about the new Glock
43X, that Glock won't send me, the next new thing early, so I can, get a jump on the competition and put the first video out. I don't want to worry about that stuff, right? I just want to go out, pick the gun up through distribution as an FFL, or buy it from a local gun shop used or whatever, and make a video and say whatever I want to say. And our Patreons make that possible. So that's kind of we're trying that model, and so far it's been it's met with good success, and people seem to like it. So
yeah,
that's what we're running with.
Cool. And
but I also want to say, but by me saying that, I think I've kind of upset some of my peers.
Okay.
They're like, they think I'm an a-hole or something, and that part of it sucks.
Yeah,
but
I think maybe there's some people out there that feel like because you're saying that you're not doing it, that means that they're bad if they are doing it. I could tell you that I have relationships with people in the firearms industry and all that. The thing with me is I try my best to expose everything, like say to people, Walter's on right now. We have a financial relationship. He helps me keep all of this going. I try to expose that to people every opportunity. Maybe people out there feel like you're saying because you're doing this, everyone else has to do what you're doing, or they're bad guys. Is that what you think?
No, I think that's what they think. But I don't care how other people do. I never call out my peers in the industry. I don't point fingers and say, oh, I know so and so's on the take or whatever. I always said people need to be able to make a living. And if you take people like Curtis over at VSO Gun Channel, in his videos, he would always put in every description all the companies that support his channel. How can you get mad about that?
Yeah,
right. He's telling you everything.
Yeah, I think the audience needs to be adults about it.
I think even Grantham said that he works within the industry and gets free firearms and whatever and stuff like that. And who doesn't trust Grantham? He puts out great videos. I mean, look what out about the MDR, right? They Desert Tech sent him the rifle, and look what he said. It pretty much killed the product. But so yes, it doesn't matter if you have a sponsor or if people send you free stuff or whatever. Ian at the Firearms TFB TV, Ian, he just put a video out about it. He titled it "Free Stuff" or something. I actually linked to it, I think, on my Patreon page, and I said, this he actually makes a really good point. And his argument was, you see this coat I'm wearing, it was free. This hat I'm wearing, it was free. The glasses I'm wearing, it was free. This lever action rifle from Henry, it was free. He said, but I've worked my butt off for 5 years to build the trust of my audience. Do you think a free lever action rifle is going to make me lie and tell you a piece of junk is good so that you're going to hate my guts and never trust another word I say?
No,
right?
I mean, and nothing is free. People don't understand that as well.
Mad at me.
Yeah, I don't know if people understand that nothing is actually free, right? Let's say that somebody gave me a free gun and they gave me $1,000 to cover my production costs to pay a cameraman to be there. There's actual work being done. The question becomes, in the consumer's mind, well, is that tainting your opinion? And that's only a question that the viewer can answer for themselves. And that's based upon your relationship with that viewer, right? Yeah.
If you're brutally honest, you point out the positives, you point out the negatives. Does it really matter?
That's what matters. Yeah. But now, in the interest, go ahead.
I'm just trying a different experiment. I'm just trying a Patreon thing. I'm not. I've divested myself of any relationships that I might have with big manufacturers and stuff like that, and I'm just going it on my own. I'm picking guns up through distribution just like a regular gun buyer would, and I'm talking about my experiences with those T&E guns. I took in the Franklin Armory guns as T&E, but I tell my viewers these are T&E guns, and I'm still going to tell you the good and the bad. You'll see that in the video.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's important.
Basically, it boils down. You have a trusting relationship with your audience, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah,
I think that's. With them, I think that trust is good, and I hope my peers don't get mad at me because I've taken the Patreon route.
Right, absolutely. By the way, in full disclosure, Lola came in to give me some notes to tell you guys that we're also on Patreon. So, if you guys want to,
I do.
Yeah, if you guys want to support us on Patreon, you can. I think it's really important to be honest with your audience out there and be straightforward. It's also important for the audience to look into things, you know, because we say this stuff. When I put up a video, I rotate through it, but I always say that, you know, this video is brought to you by so and so. There's people that help us to be able to do this. It costs money to do this stuff. And to be honest with you, and we still put a lot of money, of our own money, into what we're doing. But I think that after I've been doing it for about 6 years, there's a lot of times when Lola feels like, yeah, you know, maybe I would like to go on a vacation. You know, that's an actual vacation and do different things. So if people feel like supporting us, they can go to Patreon. And I think folks out there just need to do some of the legwork to figure out who's doing what here, and then give some kind of leeway to folks to realize that we can't do all of this for nothing. One of my favorite shows on TV is The Grand Tour. Amazon, I think, gave those guys something like $600 million to do 3 seasons, right? I'm not mad about that. That's my money. I pay Amazon, and I'm happy they gave that money to these car guys to make car videos. And I don't sit there going, these bastards, I hate them. They got 600. It costs a lot of money for them to do what they're doing.
It's entertainment.
Yeah.
I sure hope they're getting paid, because they're selling a lot of advertising. So if you do it and you don't get paid right, you're stupid.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mac.
But I mean, it is work, and it's disheartening when you say, "Oh, go get a real job. Why would I want to pay to watch your videos?" It's like the content that we produce in the firearms community is content you can't get anywhere else. You're not going to get it on primetime television. You're not going to get it on cable.
Yeah, Nancy Pelosi is not going to give it to you for free. You know.
No. Yeah. And it is when people say get a real job, I love it when we take Patreons out that come by. You know, we've given away trips and things like that. We have Patreons come out and they go on a video shoot. And at the end of the day, every single time they go, "Oh my God, I can't believe how much you guys work in a day." It's like, yeah, we haven't even gotten to the editing part yet. That's what my evening's going to be.
Yeah.
They're like,
yeah.
You know,
yeah. It's crazy.
Job, I work less at my real job than I work doing my YouTube stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
There's a lot of work that goes into what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there are people, by the way, that do appreciate that. So I hear from those folks all the time. I think you hear from them as well. Before you go, because we're over the 9 o'clock hour, and I know you probably need to go there. So people would say to me, I have to ask you about Full 30. So can you tell us anything? You are the godfather of Full 30. What's going on?
I'm actually so Full 30 took on investors, and I got diluted quite a bit, and I'm still a partner in Full 30, and Full 30 is still the largest alternative platform out there for the firearms community. But it's not like I'm in charge of Full 30. I'm not really the godfather of it. I became the front man for it because of the 3 partners, original partners, I was the one that, you know, had the YouTube channel.
Right.
But, you know, it opened up. I think there's over 500 content creators. We're onboarding content creators. You know, we actually have 1 or 2 staff people now that are, you know, reviewing it. So basically what happens is you apply to be onboarded, and then somebody just quickly reviews your YouTube channel just to make sure you're not somebody that's out there to make trouble. Because, you know, there's going to be anti-gunners out there that are going to try to get an account, upload a beheading video, and then send a link to NBC and say, look what they're doing at Full 30. And then boom, we're all, you know, in court or shut down.
Okay.
So we have to be very careful, but the platform's opening up. There's over 500, I believe, content creators and more every day. And yeah, I mean, it's an alternative home, but it's just kind of tough to get people to leave YouTube and go to a truly pro Second Amendment, you know, video hosting platform. So
okay. So Full 30 is still out there. It's still growing, still doing things. I know I've heard of people come. Okay. Yeah. I know that I've seen that you guys have been adding other content creators to the platform.
Yep. We are bringing them on as fast as we can. The only thing is they're being screened to make sure that we're not getting infiltrated by a bunch of anti-gunners, which are constantly messing with us, as we all know.
Okay. All right, cool. Walter, I don't know if there's any other questions. We're kind of like over the 9 o'clock hour. We should probably let Matt go.
Yeah. I mean, that was the Full 30 expansion is all about when they said, go ahead and register on Full 30. Is that what that's?
Yeah. So when we started the registration thing, then that's all playing out now. So Like I
Okay.
said, we have over 500 creators. What, you know, originally we had maybe 20 or something. I mean, Hank,
Right.
you're one of the early creators brought
Yeah.
on. You know, there's 20, 30 people now. It's hundreds of people, and
Okay.
we're adding as fast.
I didn't realize they were actually doing
Yep.
that now. So okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think Walter signed up,
I
but
did.
I don't
I
know
did.
if you guys are doing things with manufacturers yet. If you've gotten down to,
There are manufacturers can have their own page, and we have discussion forums that are up and running now and stuff like that. Manufacturers are more than welcome. Hank, make sure that that he has my email address, or just shoot me an email, and do a quick introduction, because I don't know that I have his email address,
Okay.
and I'll make sure that we'll get you guys onboarded over there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll definitely do that. All right, listen. So I'm gonna cut it. You know, Mac has to go and turn this video on.
Okay.
So we want to do that, and we're over the 9 o'clock hour. I'm gonna let Walter. Is there anything you want the folks to know out there, how they can follow you?
Facebook, Instagram, for you guys that have been waiting for the MP5K stock. They were back in stock again, so don't wait. They are going both regular and tail hook, and the straight up MP5 stock. The metal's being cut right now, so if you guys waiting for that, it's coming on. So
yeah, Mac, have you seen these KES stocks that Walter's making?
I don't have video stream from him. I just have his logo. I can't see what.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, your internet's probably getting cut down. I'll definitely exchange emails with you guys, because I know that Mac may be interested in testing out some of these things.
Sure.
So,
I love HKs, 94s and 93s, 91s, all the good stuff. All right.
And how can people get in touch with you, Mac, real quick before you get out?
You just go to militaryarmschannel.com. They'll take you to the YouTube channel. And from there, you can find out everything else. Our, t-shirt store, Patreon, all that stuff is in every video description.
All right. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks a lot. Okay, guys, I'm going to cut it off. If you're not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe to the Lifestyles of the Locked and Loaded, and then ring the bell, so you get notified, all that stuff. Make sure you follow Mac on all his social media, and the same thing with Walter on all his social media out there. We'll see you guys Monday. We're out of here. Peace.
Later, guys.